was reading up on today, and we kind of watched a trailer from The Nerdist. Yes, I've been watching The Nerdist. Uh, they were talking about Rogue One and how a lot of things definitely started to make sense. What if the flaw that allowed them to destroy the Death Star wasn't exactly a flaw, but intentionally done?
Wow, that kind of blows my mind away.
It does, because you look at the main character for Rogue One. Her father was actually the guy who designed the laser for the Death Star, and ultimately
I see
revealed the plan.
I
revealed
see,
the flaw.
I see where you're going with this. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Uh, I mean,
So
that just boom. That kind
ultimately, the greatest flaw in the Death Star was not a flaw, but merely the love of a father to his daughter. And I think that in itself is the most ultimate Star Wars story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole Star Wars, the huge theme going throughout the Star Wars movies has been family. You know, and mostly it's been about the Skywalkers and the Solos for the first 7 movies now. But I mean, and there's a lot of people who are still insistent that we're going to find out that Rey is Luke Skywalker's daughter. I'm not going to get into that. There's another interesting theory that I just heard. There's a scene where they go up and they see appears to be the Emperor walking towards a Bacta tank. And what Bacta is this substance that people that will go up and will soak into heal. And there's someone that it's been suggested now. I mean, it could be implied that it is Darth Vader that's in there, but there's a theory that's going around that maybe it's not. Maybe it's Snoke that's in there instead, and that this might explain, how the Emperor and Snoke have known each other for longer, and kind of as a link to the new trilogy that we're currently in the middle of.
And see, that's why I love Star Wars so much. Just when you think you know what's going on, they throw something else out there to really confuse you. And that's what I love the most. It always keeps you hooked. But these new theories coming out of Rogue One, I think, have come at potentially the worst time. Leading up to Episode 7 for Star Wars, the fans were rabid. Everybody was, pretty much anxious for new news, begging for more. But when it comes to Rogue One, you don't see that rabid fans as much as you do with the rest. And I'm kind of curious what you think of that. Like, are you more excited for, say, Episode 8 than you are, Rogue One?
You know what? I'm not real sure. I mean, considering that this is the first movie that is outside of the Skywalker saga, I guess you could call it. The first movie to expand outside of that. I'm not sure how I'm excited about this. I mean, going off in stories like, oh great, this is the story about how they go off and find the Death Star plans. And so, I mean, I won't be going into this movie with as much anticipation as I was with, the other movies. But at the same time, I mean, I'm very interested. I mean, there's definitely some stuff in here that is piqued my interest. Forrest Whitaker's character definitely intrigues me, and the more theories I'm going off and hearing people go off and speak of, the more interest I have in here. It definitely would appear that we might even have ourselves a good old fashioned Jedi duel somewhere in the movie, because we know Darth Vader is going to be in there, and there is a blind Jedi whose name has escaped me at the current moment, will be in this movie as well. And so it would be very interesting to see where it goes here. And what I think was quite interesting was when they first went off and said that they're bringing out this movie, they went off and they said they were going to leave the Force out of this movie. And now suddenly we see images of Darth Vader. We now know there's at least one other Force user in the movie. So it's kind of intriguing. Did they decide to go off and to do this because they didn't want to face a backlash from the fans? Or were they just playing us, like a bunch of fiddles?
I think they were playing us for one main reason. They wanted people to be intrigued by a Star Wars story without the Force, without the Jedis, the lightsabers, and to see what people's reaction to such a story would be. And I think it's a very clever move.
Well, and it's quite possible they can do movies without having Jedi and the Force in it. They can. I would be actually kind of pissed off when they go off and they do the Han Solo Chewbacca movie in like 5-6 years time. Yeah, I'd be kind of ticked off if they go off and have any Jedis in there at all, because they don't need it.
I think it's very intriguing because it can open up so many different other possibilities of storylines. Now, if I'm not mistaken, judging by the timeline, this is somewhat between episodes 3 and 4. Generally in that timeline.
It's roughly going to be just maybe a couple weeks before the beginnings of A New Hope, as far as I can tell.
So, if you look at the timeline, this is a very perfect moment for them to hint, in one way or another, what Obi-Wan did when he disappeared. And I think with that alone, you can open up so many different possibilities, such as a standalone Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, which has been hinted at many times.
Ewan McGregor has went off and has stated on several occasions that he's very interested in
not one, but 2.
And there's talk that we will see eventually Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Star Wars Rebels cartoon. And it's been hinted in the season premiere for season 3 of Rebels, which was just a couple weeks ago, when Darth Maul went off and was looking in the holocrons. He was trying to search for a certain person. And he said he's there. And a lot of people are assuming that he's talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi and being alive. So we could go off and see the battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul on Tatooine actually becoming canon once more.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really great is everyone knows Disney's not exactly stupid. In one form or another, they are going to tie this movie into, going forward into other movies, or at least episode 8, episode 9, in some form or another, to kind of enhance the storyline. So I'm more intrigued on how, and in what strategic way are they going to enhance that storyline in a way that's going to continue to bring people back into the movie theaters in droves like they did for episode 7.
And I'm going to say this straight out here, just remind people that Walt Disney should not be expecting to have Episode 8 have the same numbers that Episode 7 did, just because Episode 7 was the perfect storm as far as movies are concerned. I mean, there had been a new Star Wars movie in, like, close to 15 years.
I believe it was 12 years.
12 years. And it came out at Christmas, which is a perfect time for movies to come out. And, they were able to do something that would make George Lucas proud. They were able to go off and keep it under lock and key. So no one knew, going into that movie, what was going on. No one knew who Rey was. No one really had an idea who Finn was, other than he was a stormtrooper.
And that's why I do actually like Rogue One the way it is, because we've actually seen, on count, I believe, 4 different trailers for the movie. Now, no one actually knows which one's the official trailer anymore, because they are releasing so many different versions of the trailer in different forms. So I'm very intrigued, and I'm very confused going into it.
There's even a theory coming out of this that the 2 pilots, TIE Fighter pilots that flew with Darth Vader at the end of the movie, one of them was actually one of those rebels. And that the reason why he went off and he crashed into Darth Vader's TIE Fighter was intentional to prevent him from shooting down Luke Skywalker.
A very intriguing theory, and I definitely would like to see such a scenario play out in this movie. And there's so much potential they can do with this, and that's what excites me the most.
Yeah.
I've never been excited for kind of more of a branch-off movie as I am right now, because of the possibility of what they can do with this one movie.
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely... and if this movie does well, then that does better for some of the other movies that they plan to do, on Boba Fett and Han Solo. There was one other one, I think that.
Well, yeah, you got Obi-Wan, you got all that stuff.
That one's still kind of rumors, but I think there was one other one.
I think at this point, when you say rumors and Star Wars in the same word, you're pretty much hinting at the fact that generally it will happen in one form or another.
I mean, there are so many. I think the only major or minor character in Star Wars we can guarantee will never have a standalone movie would be Jar Jar Binks, unless it's a movie that Kevin Smith, came up with.
See, I'm disappointed in that because, and I wasn't a huge Jar Jar Binks fan. Actually, I kind of despise the character, but he was a very intriguing character.
And I mean, if you guys, if you don't know what really we're talking about as far as Jar Jar Binks, you can go back and listen to one of our earlier episodes where we go into the theory that Jar Jar Binks was in fact a Sith.
Yes.
And could quite possibly have been a Sith Lord.
I may actually go back and try to find that episode and actually post it on our Facebook page, just so you guys can go back and listen to an episode that I think we both enjoyed, taping of Jar Jar Binks. And
it was not the only. I mean,
the only time Jar Jar Binks was brought up in that much depth.
I mean, and I guess the problem is that there was so much potential in that character.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, because of one of the biggest problems, I think, was that
fickle fans.
It wasn't just that. And as much as I love George Lucas, he cannot write dialogue.
No.
I mean, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill all used to tease him because they had the crap that they had to go up and speak in the original trilogy. I mean, this is all stuff. And I think, and that's what people will go off and say about Hayden Christensen is that he received such a backlash against his performances as Anakin Skywalker in the prequel trilogy that, and it wasn't really as much as his fault as the dialogue sucked and there was really no chemistry, between him and I'm going to say Padme Amidala because her name is one off in escape in my mind because no one really cares about her anymore.
Absolutely. So, we're going to pretty much wrap up the show. I think it's been an awesome show. And we definitely did not intend to be talking about Star Wars as much as we had, so first half, of course, was C4.
Yeah, so again, guys,
straight into Star Wars.
If you were in the Winnipeg area, come out, again...
Join my entourage.
Exactly. C4, the Central Canada Comic Convention, is being held at the RBC Convention Center.
October 28th, 29th, and October 30th.
And again, they're going to be celebrating 50 years of Star Trek. William Shatner will be there.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and there will be a lot of other guests there as well. So, guys...
So many guests, so little time.
And you know what, guys? We will be talking about it, on next week's episode for certain. And you know what? We kind of lost track on episodes. My wife actually reminded me and said which episode we were on. I'm not sure because we were originally going to do an special episode for our 100th episode, but we've somehow missed that. So
we'll have to go back and do a double count because some of them actually were posted a couple times. So this may actually not be the 100th. So. I don't know. Either way, if this is our 100th, then
if we find out that we in fact had done more than 100 episodes, we're gonna go off and we're gonna pretend that we didn't have our 100th episode.
Hey, I'm not proud until we've done 200.
Yeah, dude. I won't be proud until we've done 1,000. Okay, maybe
1,001.
1,000.
I'll raise you by one.
Sold. Okay, guys, it's time for us to go. Thank you once again for listening on the show. And you know what? You can go off and follow us on our social media. And we're gonna start off by saying follow us on Twitter.
Yes, you can follow me at RealCAPT Fizz. So at Real Captain Fizz, the host with the most.
The host of the most, unless he's a ghost.
Unless he's a ghost.
You can follow this local fellow at That Mask Guy. Follow the show at FizzMask Show. You can go to our website, www.fizzmaskshow.com. And you'll find links to all three of our Twitter accounts.
And Facebook.
And our Facebook, exactly.
Which has become quite popular. Tomorrow I will actually be doing a double helping of Comic Book Wednesday since I had some issues last week that prevented me from doing such.
And, of course, every Sunday I go off and I post a fan theory about in regards to Star Wars. And if you guys go on the Facebook page tonight, you will see that I've already posted